Cryptography has been used for thousands of years to protect sensitive information from interceptors and unauthorized individuals. Before the era of computers and modern algorithms, classical cryptography was the only method by which kings, generals, and diplomats could communicate securely. Using techniques such as substitution, transposition, and encoded symbols, ancient and medieval civilizations developed systems to conceal their messages from enemies. Although many of these methods are now considered insecure, they laid the foundation for modern cryptography and demonstrated the importance of protecting information in a world full of threats. Cryptography naturally emerged with the development of written communication. The earliest evidence of cryptographic use dates back to ancient Egypt, where scribes used unusual symbols to obscure the true meaning of a text. These symbols were not necessarily an advanced encryption method, but they served as a basic barrier against those who were not trained in the art of deciphering. In Greek and Roman times, cryptography became an essential tool for transmitting military messages. One famous example is the skytale, a device used by the Spartans to encrypt battle orders. The message was written on a strip of leather wrapped around a rod of a specific diameter. When unwrapped, the letters appeared jumbled and unreadable. The message could only be deciphered if the strip was wrapped around an identical rod. This method was extremely simple but effective against anyone who did not possess a rod of the same size. Another well-known method was Caesar's cipher, used by the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar to protect his correspondence. This cipher is a basic substitution method where each letter of the original text is replaced by a letter of fixed number of positions later in the alphabet. For example, using a shift of 3 positions, A becomes D, B becomes E, and so on. While this method is rudimentary and easily broken with today's technology, in Caesar's time, it was sufficient to keep messages secure from soldiers or spies who did not know how to decode them. As societies became more complex and states developed more sophisticated diplomatic relations, cryptography evolved to meet new challenges. In the Middle Ages, cryptography was used by the church, merchants, and rulers to protect critical information. One of the first notable cryptanalysts was the Arab scholar al-Kindi, who, in the 9th century, developed a method of frequency analysis to break simple substitution ciphers. This discovery made traditional encryption methods more vulnerable, prompting the development of more advanced systems. During the Renaissance, cryptography became a highly sophisticated field of study. Leon Battista Alberti, a 15th-century Italian humanist, created the first polyalphabetic cipher, which used multiple alphabets to replace letters in a message. This was a major improvement over simple substitution methods, as frequency analysis became much more difficult. Alberti also invented a cryptographic disk, a rotating device that facilitated the constant change of letter substitutions. Another significant invention was the Vigenère cipher, developed in the 16th century. This cipher used a secret keyword to determine letter shifts in an encrypted message. Each letter was shifted by a different amount depending on the key, making frequency analysis much harder. For centuries, this cipher was considered unbreakable. However, in the 19th century, Charles Babbage and Friedrich Kossiski found ways to break it by identifying repeating patterns in the ciphertext. With the Industrial Revolution and the rise of the telegraph, cryptography became essential for fast and secure communication. Governments and militaries developed more complex ciphers to protect messages sent over long distances. During World War I, armies used various encryption systems, and in World War II, cryptography played a decisive role in shaping the outcome of the conflict. The most famous example of cryptography from this period is the Enigma machine, used by Nazi Germany to encrypt military communications. This electromechanical machine employed multiple rotating disks to generate highly complex encoded messages. However, thanks to the efforts of British cryptographers led by Alan Turing, Enigma was cracked, significantly contributing to Germany's defeat. Although classical encryption methods were used for centuries, they had a major vulnerability. Once an adversary understood how the cipher worked and had enough messages for analysis, they could determine the encryption key. Simple substitution ciphers and even polyalphabetic ciphers became easier to break as mathematics and statistical analysis advanced. In the 20th century, cryptography entered a new era with the development of computers and information theory. Unlike classical methods, which relied on simple rules and secrecy of the algorithm, modern cryptography uses complex mathematical principles, such as asymmetric cryptography and strong encryption algorithms, resistant to sophisticated attacks. Classical cryptography was a cornerstone in the history of information security. From the simple ciphers used by the Romans to the polyalphabetic methods of the Renaissance, these techniques profoundly influenced how people communicated securely. Although modern methods have entirely surpassed classical techniques, understanding them remains essential for anyone studying cybersecurity and the history of encrypted communication. Cryptography will continue to evolve, but the fundamental principles established by classical methods remain relevant even today.